We have with us Mr. UK Sinha, Chairman Sebi. So firstly, thanks for sparing this time and congratulations for receiving the Business Reformer of the Year award. So how does it feel as a regulator receiving the award of Business Reformer? Your first thought?
You see, this is for the first time that any regulator has been given the reward for bringing about reforms in the country. And the important thing to note is that the role of a regulator in our whole political system, both in India and outside, is something on which more debate has to be started and conducted. We lie somewhere between the government and the entrepreneur. We are an arm of the government and we are also independent. So how do you evaluate the work of a regulator? That is very important. Is it the parliament to which you are accountable? Are you accountable to the government of the day, or are you accountable to the people of the country? So for all of us in Sebi, it's a very, very important day that we have been recognized. Sebi has been recognized as a business reformer. And bringing about reform is not something which you can do in unidimensional way. You have to also assure people that things are not going bad. You have also to assure that the rule of the law is being followed. You have to assure people that there is a good corporate governance in the country. So it's a very, very fine balance, and I'm grateful to ET and to the jury for giving this award to Sebi.
So, as you said, reform has been the buzzword in 2014 elections and now with new government in place. And after you came in, you certainly have tried to revamp and come out with a lot of reforms in Sebi itself. Say recently the three big things, the whole of insider trading, your new regulations for delisting, all these things. For you as a regulator, as you're rightly saying, you always have to have a balance. The government policy has to be in sync, the legislative has to be in place. For you, which would be, say, the top three reforms which you feel really have changed the dynamics, or that is what was the need of the hour in your tenure?
I think in a substantial manner, not in an absolute manner, we have been able to bring about confidence and trust in Sebi. That Sebi is there to take care of the interests of the investors. At the same time, we are not anti-business. We just want to ensure that the rules are there, and when we draft the rules, the second thing is when we draft the rules, we have been very careful to have a very wide consultation. And thirdly and most importantly, we apply the rules uniformly. And that assurance is required not only for the people of this country, but also all the investors across the world who are making investments in our country.
So if I could ask you the other important aspect, as a regulator, does your role get much more enhanced in a bull market that we are witnessing, where you have to be alert with the kind of foreign money that is pumped into the market, so on and so forth?
You are right, and I must tell you that because there is a rally in the market, our surveillance mechanism is much more active today than it was there, say, about a year ago. We are watching majority of the transactions, and wherever we are finding that there is a pattern which is disturbing, we are questioning those people, we are questioning the investor, we are questioning the brokers. Secondly, we are also trying to ensure that unauthorized trading, what you popularly call Dabba trading, because it has been a history in the past that when there is a unidirectional movement in the market, many people go for outside the exchanges trading. So we are trying to curb it. We have written letters to the state government. We are ourselves talking to many state governments, and we will be working towards it. Fortunately, the new enactment, the amendment of the SEBI Act, is also helping in that direction.
So I was just coming to that quickly. If I could ask you, the two important things I have tracked your tenure, the focus has been investor protection. At the same time, you wanted to ensure that SEBI enlarges its band and width when it comes to catching people who are collecting money illegally. Now with the powers under you, how has it been in the, say, last 6 to 8 months in terms of using these powers, and how difficult or how still challenging it's like to implement this law in a country like India for regulators?
The amendment, so far as unauthorized money collection is concerned, the amendment has been very clear that if anybody is raising more than 100 crore rupees, and he is not registered with any regulator, there will be a legal presumption that it is collective investment scheme and SEBI will have a role. The question is below 100 crores. For that also Reserve Bank of India and SEBI have come out with a mechanism that we have now a quarterly consultation. It is called a state level consultative committee. And quarterly we meet there, our people meet, and we decide which case will be looked after by which agency. And thirdly, many of the state governments, 20 of the state governments and union territories, they have passed their own Depositor Protection Act. So a combination of these three efforts will help us in controlling the menace. And lastly, on the effectiveness of the ordinance, of the act, earlier we were passing orders and we were unable to collect any penalty. Today our recovery mechanism has become very active, and you might have seen some news reports about how we have been able to collect even small sums of money from people. So since the effectiveness is increasing about collection of money, maybe people are taking SEBI more seriously now than they were doing before.
So my last couple of questions before I could end this interview. So just one thing, when you speak to the industry captains out here, just to ensure and clarify, SEBI had come out with a clarification on P notes and how it would be regulated. Would you want to clearly throw, because there is a worry once again, is SEBI relooking at P notes as an instrument?
I think what you are referring to is completely exaggerated, and perhaps people have not understood what SEBI is doing. P notes are legitimate investment vehicles, they are welcome. The important thing is that unlike 2 years back, SEBI today knows who is the ultimate beneficiary of a P note. So the worry which was there in say 2001 Ketan Parikh scam, that worry is gone away, because we know each and every transfer from one ODI holder to another P note holder, we know who is the holder and we can question it. What we have done this time is a very small correction which we have done, that there were people who were making investment through the P notes from countries which were not members of IOSCO MOU countries, or they were from countries which are not members of Financial Action Task Force, or they had a very opaque structure. Let me assure you that the total amount of PN through these routes is less than even 1%. In fact, less than 0.5% of the total money which has come into the country. So there is no need to worry.
And so on a lighter note, we could see the other side of Sebi Chairman today. Would you like to close this interview on a couplet that you just referred to during receiving this award?
Okay. I talked about a couplet from Iqbal, and I tried to refer it in the context of a regulator. It goes like this: Ajab वाइज की दीनदारी है या रब, अदावत है इसे सारे जहां से। कोई अभी तक न ये समझा है कि इंसान जाता कहाँ है और आता कहाँ से। Which means, the way I am interpreting it, that if there is a preacher and he behaves on religious matter in a manner that everybody thinks that he is inimical to the whole society, people don't realize that he is actually trying to address the fundamental questions of human existence. Where do you come from? Where do you go? So these questions have to be addressed. And SEBI, what it is trying to do is to address the more fundamental questions about maintaining the integrity of the market and having rule of law. If these things happen, investments will come. If these things happen, corporate governance will ensure that more and more money comes into the country.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/etnow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at etnowlive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/etnow.